Hello and welcome to DA Perspectives. Sitting in for District Attorney Dupree, I'm Jonathan Carter. As we continue to celebrate Women's History Month, we want to highlight one of our outstanding attorneys who is now the office's Chief Deputy District Attorney, Njeri Mwangi. Njeri, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about your journey, and it's interesting because it doesn't start here in the States.
That is correct. I was actually born and raised in Nairobi, Kenya. I did all my formal years of schooling back there. When I was 19, I came over to the United States to attend college. I attended college here, and then I went to law school. Then I started working, and here I am.
So when you were back in Kenya, when did you decide I want to become an attorney?
I knew from a young age that that is what I wanted to do. I distinctly remember, back then when they had newspapers, reading an article in the newspaper regarding a young infant that had been defiled. At a young age, that really stood out to me, and I just remember thinking this is not right, and I knew right there and then I actually wanted to be a judge, and that's what I told my family and my parents. I said, I'm going to be a judge because this shouldn't happen to anyone else. It was then explained to me that, well, before you become a judge, you have to become an attorney, and at that point I knew that I wanted to be an attorney.
What is it that you've seen as an attorney that has given power to what you want to do? Are you still able to bring the justice that you want to see for an individual?
Yeah, with the types of cases that I've primarily handled, my focus has always been giving victims a voice and advocating for victims, while at the same time making sure that individuals who commit crimes are held accountable for those crimes. So unfortunately, crime doesn't stop, and we keep seeing a lot of it. What I've been able to do, what I've been fortunate enough to have happen in my career is I've been involved in these cases where I'm able to be a voice, provide a voice for the victims, and go into the courtrooms and fight for justice and accountability. And
how has that been, providing that voice for the victims? Because oftentimes when they hit the courtroom, it's a traumatic time for them, aside from the traumatic experience that led them to the courtroom. To have an advocate like you on their side, what do you feel you're able to provide them?
What I'm able to provide them is truly knowledge, comfort, understanding. It starts by helping them understand what the criminal justice system is like, what the expectations are. The reality is we're not always going to have a successful outcome for every case that we present in court, but being able to sit with the victims in these cases, explain to them, this is the case, this is what we can expect, and let them know that we may not get the outcome that we want or desire, but we're going to fight for that, and we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that there is justice and that there is accountability.
When you look back at your career, everything that led you to this point, did you know how you would handle the losses as well as the victories in the courtroom?
No, I didn't. It's one of those, when you think you want to be a lawyer, like, of course I'm going to win. Something bad happened, and we're going to go in there and we're going to fight, and they're going to see that this person, did whatever it is we say. What you realize in the American legal system is the state has the burden. We have to present the evidence in order to prove this individual guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And sometimes we just don't meet that burden for whatever reason. That doesn't mean that the crime didn't occur because we have the victims there to say that this individual wronged me. It just means that we weren't able to meet our burden. And that's what makes the system work, that you have the opportunity to be heard in court, to present that evidence, and a jury of your peers will listen to everything and make the determination as to, did the state meet its burden? Do we believe that they've proven this individual's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt? Not some doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt. So in terms of handling the losses and the wins, with time, I came to understand that you don't look at it that way. You don't look at it as winning or losing. You look at it as you've done everything you can in order to present this case. You've done everything you can to prove this individual guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And as long as you've given it your all, left everything on the pitch, so to speak, then you can be comfortable or happy with whatever outcome comes out of it.
Now, going back to Kenya, Kenya falls under the British legal system.
Yes.
What are some of the differences you've noticed between the British legal system and the American legal system?
Well, first of all, the British Kenyan legal system is not a jury system. So your guilt or innocence is determined by a judge. It's very different how they practice law. Now, they'll bring in witnesses, you'll have the opportunity to speak, but it seems a little more formal in terms of how things are done. The American legal system is, you present witnesses, in my opinion, you're able to be a lot more, not lax, but a lot more yourself and not as constrained, by the rules that you're required to follow. Additionally, we don't have to wear powdered wigs in court or dress up with, now don't get me wrong. What they have to wear to court is beautiful, but I prefer being able to wear a suit of my choosing every time that I'm in court.
Okay. What is a victory like for you as an attorney, as a prosecutor, turning to that victim and saying, we did it?
Well, victory to me, first of all, is when a victim comes to me and says, thank you. I feel seen, I feel heard, and most importantly, thank you for believing me. Because a lot of times with the types of cases that I've handled, they feel no one's gonna believe them or people are gonna blame them for what happened. So victory for me is when we can have that conversation where the victim says, I appreciate everything that happened, that was done for me in this case. Even if in those situations where we didn't get the outcome that we wanted, they understand and say, I know you did everything that you could. The decision just didn't come down how we wanted it, but I'm thankful. That's a victory.
Okay. Now, there are going to be many people who see you in your new role as our Chief Deputy District Attorney, particularly young girls. What is it that you would like them to know about you and what they should also know about themselves as they go on this journey through life in whatever field they choose, whether it's, law enforcement, criminal justice in the sense of an attorney, anything. What is it that you want the young girl to know about Njeri Mwangi, and also what you can do, young lady?
What I want them to know is you don't have to have everything figured out. I was fortunate enough to where at a young age, I knew what it is that I wanted to do, but it's not the same for everybody. That doesn't mean that whatever it is you want to do with your life or how you want to end up is not valid. What I would say is be consistent. Even if at the beginning you don't exactly know what you want to do with your life or where you want your life to go, keep looking, keep searching. But when you do find that thing, apply yourself, do what you need to do. If it's a course that requires that, you get a degree, you get all this experience, focus on that and get them. Not every job that you want to do will require that you have a formal degree, and that's okay. Whatever it is, apply yourself, be the best at it. Most importantly, for the young women, remember that you belong in those spaces and you belong in those rooms and you matter and you're valid. Unfortunately, with a lot of these careers, you may walk into a room, nobody looks like you, maybe background or, you're the only woman in that field. Don't let that deter you. Just remember what it is you want out of this life. Know that you belong in those rooms. Make sure you find people who can support you. Seek out mentors so they can advise you and help you along your path. And just know that anything you set your mind to, you can do it.
And how important is a mentor?
A mentor is key. Especially, I think people should have mentors for everything that they do. A mentor is simply somebody who is more knowledgeable in that area than you are. Somebody who can talk to you, about what it is you're interested in doing, tell you the pros, the cons, why, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and help you have a different viewpoint or insight into an area that you're thinking about or that you're interested in. It's important to have mentors because it's somebody you can go talk to. They understand because you're interested in whatever field they're in, and they can give you candid advice. Some mentors will tell you, hey, look, this is great, but it's gonna be hard. Other people, they may do the right, well, not do the right thing, but be honest and say, I understand this is what you wanna do, but perhaps you might wanna consider something different. Not necessarily as a negative way, but them being able to look at you and say, based on who you are and how you're presenting, I think your skills would be better set somewhere different. That said, don't let anybody tell you what you can or cannot do. If you want to do it, go for it.
So never stop pushing.
Never stop pushing.
All right. Well, Chief Deputy District Attorney Njeri Mwangi, thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thank you.
All right. This has been DA Perspectives. I'm Jonathan Carter. Have a wonderful day.